Pokemon Masters, it's my birthday this week. And as a present to me, Gamesy have put my legendary trio bird posters on sale. They make for a great decoration on your wall or a present for a friend. Make sure to check out the link at the top of the description and get yourself a set. It really helps the channel out. Hey, Pokemon Masters, Birdkeeper Toby here. Last month I did a Fact Friday video about Professor Oak, the man himself, the guy who started it all by saying, "Hey, welcome to the wonderful world of Pokemon." And in that video I discussed how Professor Oak, more so than any other character, we have a pretty comprehensive timeline of what he does, what his events are throughout his whole life, and across all the different canons, who his family are. In the manga, it talks about how he has two brothers who are the mayor and postmaster of Pallet Town. He has a grandfather who is the famed trainer who brought fame to Pallet Town. He has a cousin in Alola, Samson Oak, and two grandkids, Daisy Oak and Gary Blue Green, whatever you want to call them. But of course, that leaves a generational gap, and everyone gets so fixated on the topic of who is Ash Ketchum's father. But what about Gary? Who is Gary's father? Or mother, for that matter? Who is his parents? Isn't that a far more interesting question? Why does Gary live with his grandfather, basically? A topic like this cannot be tackled alone, so today I am joined by one of the best Pokemon theorists out there, my good friend, Loxton.
Hello there, Pokemon Masters. Let's just dive right into it, shall we? A good place to start in trying to find out who Oak's children are is asking, who did he have them with? He's an elderly man now, so chances are we're looking for a character around his age with some kind of connection to him and his life. Here, many people would turn to Agatha as being a good candidate. Agatha is an Elite Four member who is powerful and specializes in the ghost type. Not only that, she has some beef with Professor Oak, calling him an old coot, saying even that he used to be strong and handsome, but now, well, he's gone soft. In those lines of dialogue, we are already establishing a relationship that was once one of fondness, now turned bitter. Possibly, given the quote about his looks, a relationship of romance. In those lines, we also see a side of Agatha that is very much like our rival. Weak Pokemon suck! It's all about being strong and powerful! That's my impression of Gary Oak. And this personality connection between Gary Oak and Agatha gives the two of them even more connections. Clearly, whoever Oak had his children with is not with him today. He never talks of being married, so potentially there never even was a Mrs. Oak. In the manga, Oak actually became the Pokemon League champion, and his final matching was against Agatha. So maybe it's possible that in the fires of heated battle came the fires of passion. However, for whatever reason, that relationship didn't quite work out in the long run. I think that it is very likely that Agatha is the mother of Oak's children.
Now, Gary and Daisy Oak are around about 10 to 12 years old when their adventures begins, which is great. Agatha and Oak, however, their ages are more ambiguous. The Pokemon movie Forever puts Oak's age at 50 because he time travels 40 years and he is 10 years old when he's Samuel Oak. However, Professor Oak was very clearly designed to be older, and especially if he had relationships with Agatha, who is very clearly in her 60s to 80s. So for this theory, you're going to have to suspend your disbelief a little bit and assume that bit of information in the Pokemon Wolf movie is maybe not completely accurate, and that Oak is probably more in his 60s, 70s, which is how he looks. So we're looking for a child, first of all, that fits in that age gap. Someone in the middle there, someone 40s to 50s, someone who has some connection to Oak or Agatha, and there actually is a character, the Elite Four member Bertha. Not only is she also an Elite Four member like Agatha with a similar namesake, but also there is an actual comment in the games by Chantal of the Unova Elite Four that says that Bertha and Agatha share a remarkable resemblance, so it's even noticed and referenced in canon. And given their ages, could this resemblance be mother-daughter? I think it's more than possible. And not only that, it would make perfect sense with the timeline of Oak's life, because Oak at one point did actually live in Sinnoh. He has a house in Eterna City, and he studied there while he was studying under Professor Rowan. This would have been after he was a child, but before he was a Pokemon researcher in his middle age when he would have been having kids. So he would have had Bertha whilst he was living in Sinnoh. So it's actually incredibly plausible, but to make it believable, we really need just some other bit of evidence, some other tiny little detail that we're missing here that ties it all together. And there is a character of interest. Again, we're crossing canons, but in the one episode of the show that Bertha shows up in, she is babysitting someone who she quotes to be her cousin's son. This character is called Roland, and you may have already noticed he looks an awful lot like a slightly younger Gary Oak. Her cousin's son, that is a very specific relationship, and what we're talking about there is her parents, siblings, grandchildren. So potentially that's Oak's brother's grandchildren, or maybe someone on Agatha's side that we don't know about. It's the grandchildren, so it's the same generation as Gary and Ash, except maybe just a little bit younger.
Maybe it's just a coincidence, but it would make sense with how relationships work in the Pokemon world. For example, in Alola there is Samson Oak, Professor Oak's cousin, so Oak's parents' sibling's child. And yet Samson looks almost completely identical to Samuel. And the relationship between Gary and Roland is actually the same connection, just with an extra generation. And again, they look almost completely identical. Think about this also. It's such an obscure bit of lore for the showrunners to put in. Her cousin's son? Why that? Why so specific? Sounds like maybe Roland is the special missing link weaving this web. Painting the tapestry of the Pokemon timeline.
Bertha is the daughter of Samuel Oak and Agatha, and her children, well, is Gary. Gary Blue-Green, again, whatever canon you're using, and Daisy Oak. Is it possible? I think so. I think the evidence is there, but I'll leave that up to you in the comments. Now, we still don't know who Gary's father is, so it's only really a half victory, but we do know who Ash's father is, and I talked about that over on Lockstin's channel over a year ago. So I thank him for joining me on this video, and I recommend you head over. So hi, Pokemon Masters. A special thank you to those of you who support me financially on Patreon, and especially Joey Powers and Dewcifer, the big patrons of the month. Thank you.
This is Ash Ketchum. You just watched a video by Birdkeeper Toby. That makes you a Pokemon Master!